there's so many, you know, where, you know, I'm spinning my bass and the strap breaks and it flies across the stage, but the show's still going on. How do I get out of it? One time I was in Minneapolis and I was wearing these basketball type pants that button down the side, and I was doing something crazy with my bass, and the horn of the instrument caught the inside of my pants, and when I went to swing my bass, my pants ripped down to my ankles. Show's still going on, what do? You know? A lot of things like that. I was playing in London. Last time I was in London, I'm playing, and there was a guy in the audience just going, ooh, and it was my solo, so I'm playing real quiet, and he's just going, ooh. And I'm like, what's going on, you know? So I'm doing all of my musical cues that I know that usually make everyone shh, and I'm doing everything, and everyone is shh, except one guy, you know? And so it's like, well, what do, you know? That was an interesting one that the band and I still talk about. You know, we were talking about it just yesterday because we're going back to London. We're wondering if he's going to show up, you know? So there are a lot of fun moments that are going through my mind right now that, you know, that happened to me and happened to bandmates, you know, someone getting sick and throwing up on stage, but having to keep play at the same time, you know. When you're performing, you know, they say the show must go on, and the show must go on.
We were playing, I think 4 nights in Toronto at the whatever the Normo Dome there is. Richie started a song, or John counted a song off, but I couldn't hear Richie's guitar in my ears. That's one of the reasons I hate in-ears, but we've been using them for so long. So I figured, okay, I'm just gonna hang on the 1, because there was no vocal or anything, it was just this whole intro. And I hung on the 1 thinking, and just when I realized what song it was, John turned around and looked at me, stopped the band, and said, Hugh McDonald, you never screw up. If there weren't so many people here, I'd shoot you. And I fell on my knees and I begged forgiveness. And, you know, it was all joking around, but it would have worked. Nobody would have ever known. I find the older you get, the more they come, the more they go, huh? Where am I? What am I playing? What's this song? That's why I can't believe the Stones or Moody Blues or a lot of the bands that have been around forever. Rush especially. There's a band that I don't know how they remember their parts. I'm going to talk to Geddy and find out what sort of memory vitamins he's taken.
I can remember sitting at the airport assuming that somebody was going to be picking me up. Nobody did. So I ended up missing the gig completely. The keyboard player had to play bass. So yeah, we've had a few moments like that.
I just flew in from New York and LA before that. I don't know what time it is. It doesn't matter.
My favorite Spinal Tap moment was in Russia, in Moscow, and it was freezing outside, and it was 5 a.m., and we had sent our luggage ahead of time to the airport, so we wouldn't have to stand around while the crew checked the luggage into the airport. So we had just put out our clothes that we were going to wear and sent the rest of the luggage early. And I had put out clothes, but realized at the last minute that I forgot pants. I hadn't left any pants for myself to wear. So I was standing in the hotel room trying to figure out how I'm going to make it to the bus and then make it to the airport, you know, where my luggage was, with no pants. You know, I wasn't worried about the cold, even though that was a big issue. I was worried about my band seeing me walking down onto the tour bus with my underwear. So I put on the hotel terry cloth robe, and I put my overcoat, and I put my Timberland boots, and I put my hat on. And I rocked it like it was a style. And the band bought it for about 4 minutes, and then they just busted out laughing. But I said, anybody who puts it on Facebook, man, is fired. So I think I held off a bigger problem.
Yeah, okay, I was at the 55 bar in New York, probably 2015, yeah. I think. 2014, I can't remember. Playing at the 55 bar, playing through a Mark-based cabinet, and also, you know, I had basically I had a power strip and it was plugged into the wall. But during the gig, so either like, you know, I had the Electro-Harmonics frequency analyzer, so I was like kind of banging on that a lot, and the cabinet couldn't handle it. So it's just like flopping out. And then once in a while, the whole thing would get unplugged from the wall. So I would be playing and everything would just shut off. And this is while Bowie's in the audience. And I was just thinking, he's not gonna want me to be on the, because it was just literally a disaster, like just for me. And just like, but he somehow went for it.
Me playing with David Sanborn in 1985 in the summer at the Greek Theater in Berkeley, California, I think it was. So we used to open with that tune, Chicago Song, Marcus, totally great song. I got my jazz bass, I'm thumping, 64 jazz in those days. And I had a little pedal board, I hit the thing on, nothing. So they're going, and I'm like on the floor trying to get the thing to work. Finally, we got it going. Man, that's panic. Cats running from the side of the stage trying to help you figure it out. And I don't even remember what it was. I just remember there was probably, when you really like step back from it, it was probably like 45 seconds of sheer hell that felt like a year. I was like, Particularly, those kind of things where you start off big and it's a big fat groove and nothing, no bass. I was with the Crusaders for a brief minute, and we played a big gig at the Hollywood Bowl. And this was a crazy thing that happened that was sort of part tragic and part elation for me, because Larry Graham wound up playing my bass on the first tune. So we're playing and the guest star is Larry Graham. And he had one of those wireless things and then the microphone coming out of the bass, and he had an acoustic 360 amp on either side of the stage, and he came out dancing, he was like, "Party!" and he was killing it, right? Funky, unbelievable. And then everything, the wireless crashed, and there was no sound, and everything went down, the mic, everything. So he came running back to me and said, "Let me have your bass." And I handed him the bass, and he went on and he was killing. So he played my little jazz bass at the time that I had. It was great. But it was so out, because he came on so strong, and then it just stopped. And everybody was playing. We're like, "Oh no." And then he came out, I just, tossed him my bass, and he went on like nothing happened. He's one of the greatest.
I have so many stories. Funny thing, I can't remember what place we were, where there was a dressing room, and lucky because they had so many rooms, so I picked one dressing room for myself, so I can be in my room and stop being nervous and just meditate. But now, I hear the announcing the show, so I gotta get out of the dressing room. I couldn't open the door, man, and there's no windows, so I'm thinking, oh my God, they need me, and I keep hearing the voices because, I have the ear monitor, so I can hear, "Where's Bakithi? Where's Bakithi?" And I'm trying to open the door, but I forgot there was another lock that was in the bottom that just locked by accident. So, that was funny. So by the time I get on stage, I was sweating, like, I was in a sauna or something.
I never got lost backstage, but I've had a lot of Spinal Tap-esque things. Scott Henderson had one the other day. And the first time in his career, he went to the wrong gate and didn't make the airplane and missed a show that night. It's human. It happens. It's a Spinal Tap moment. What other Spinal Tap? I remember one or two. Again, going back to Scott, and there's this one chord, twang, and I could never remember the chord. I remember this whole 2 hour and a half of show, but there's this one chord that I never remembered the chord. And one night we got to the gig, and taped on my monitor, Scott taped it, was a huge, with a magic marker, a huge letter C. And that was the note that I was supposed to play on this chord. And I broke up, man, because, he did it as a joke. It's a C, you dummy. You can't remember a C. And just all kinds of goofy things, Oh, I have one. I did this 3-4 times in a row. Locked my flight case. Got to the gig and realized I left my keys in the hotel room, so I couldn't open the case. And I went back, and I did this 3-4 days in a row. I hadn't wised up by carrying the key or something, and finally I learned, my flight case, I unlock it now. I mean, that's about as bad as anything happens.